Hey everyone, welcome to the show. So, a member of Congress just admitted that he signed Trump's big but ugly bill without knowing what was in it. He also admitted on camera that Republicans made cuts to Medicaid, which, they've been claiming they never did and they weren't intending to do. Also, he made just horrific comments about what's going on in Gaza, what Netanyahu is doing to children. Before I get into all the details on this, though, and I'm going to share clips with you from that town hall. Please do me a huge favor. Click the subscribe button below this video. It is free. It helps the show tremendously. And a huge thank you to everyone who supports the show financially. You truly help to keep it going. So here is the deal. Congressman Mike Flood, he is the congressman for an area of Nebraska. He recently held a town hall. Now, I give him credit for doing this because most of these so-called alpha men and women, the ones in the Republican Party, they're too chicken shit to do this. They're too chicken shit to host town halls anymore. Or they're like Marjorie Taylor Greene. They'll have guards there and they're so afraid of people yelling at them. Like she literally had her security guards taser people. So anyway, I have videos to share with you of these questions that people asked and his complete BS answers. Here's the bottom line, though, and here's what we found out. Flood isn't actually a congressman. I know that's weird, right? Like he's supposed to be the congressman or one of them from Nebraska. But we figured this out. We now know this based on his answers because over and over again, as he was asked questions, he was like, oh, I don't know anything about that. I didn't know that was in the budget bill. I had no idea that was in the budget bill that I signed. I had no idea that what law are you talking about? This is literally his job. This is his only job. Members of Congress are there to read and write bills and then sign and enact them. I said to someone yesterday, this is like a trash collector not knowing that the trash didn't get picked up. This is like, the trash not getting picked up and the trash collector like going, oh gosh, I had no idea. Not sure how that happened. That's your job. That is the only job you have. What are we paying you for? And what are you doing if you're not doing this? So here's a perfect example. Here's what one woman asked him and his response. Take a look.
Can you please tell us why you voted to approve a budget bill that includes Section 70302, which effectively prohibits federal courts from enforcing contempt orders? Please let me ask my question. I only got 30 seconds. Which would then allow current and future administrations to ignore those contempt orders by removing the enforcement capabilities.
I do not agree with that section that was added to that bill. I will tell you this. I believe in the rule of law. I've taken an oath as an attorney. I've taken an oath as a state senator. I've taken an oath as a member of Congress. And I support our court system. And I do believe that the federal district courts, when issuing an injunction, should have legal effect. In fact, I relied upon that when the Biden administration was in place. The federal courts did a tremendous amount of good work. This provision was unknown to me when I voted for the bill.
Okay, next question. Next question.
I am not going to hide the truth. This provision was unknown to me when I voted for that bill. And when I found out that provision was in the bill, I immediately reached out to my Senate counterparts and told them of my concern. And when I return to Washington, I am going to very clearly tell the people in my conference that we cannot support undermining our court system, and we must allow our federal courts to operate and issue injunctions.
So he believes in the rule of law, but he refuses to hold Trump accountable for breaking the law. And he voted for a felon and an adjudicated sexual assaulter to be the president of the United States. Yeah, you really care about the law, Flood. Yeah, rule of law is so important to you. This next woman got Flood to admit that they cut Medicaid. Check this out.
At your town hall in Columbus, you promised that you would not vote for a bill that cut Social Security and Medicare. Now, the Congressional Budget Office has determined that the bill you voted for last week will trigger $500 billion in cuts to Medicare. You either lied to us or you have been bullied into voting against our health care in favor of giving $5 trillion in tax breaks to billionaires.
Okay, I want to speak very specifically about Medicaid because most of the cuts in the bill really addressed Medicaid.
Did you hear that, everyone? I cut off the rest of his answer because it's just complete political spin. He went into, something, something, blah, 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 undocumented immigrants, something, something. It's ridiculous as an excuse. Next up is a man who sadly lost his daughter, and he explained to Flood, these biannual Medicaid qualification requirements that they're now asking people to meet and to check in and verify, that they're going to be very burdensome for Americans. And then he also said this, which is very interesting.
Since the bill has passed, the Wharton Business School at the University of Pennsylvania, where President Trump went to school, they've been able to take that bill and process it through their budget model. They found a few things. It increases the debt by 7.2% over 10 years. It increases the GDP by just 0.4% over that same period of time. The top 10% of Americans get 70% of the value in that bill. The bill hurts a lot of people in lower income brackets. So there's a few examples here. I know. People in 40% or lower, when the Wharton Business School combined tax cuts and the cuts to services and then banded that by income bands. People 40% and lower in our country will actually lose money in 2026. The people in the top percentiles, 95 to 99%, they're making $400,000 to $1 million. Their average benefit in 2026 will be $18,000. People in 99.99.9 percentile, they're making $1 million to $4.3 million. They're going to make $41,000 benefit in 2026. Here's the kicker. The top 0.1% of Americans, they're making over $4,300,000 every year. Their benefit next year would be $390,000. Were you aware when you voted how this conglomeration of benefits and cuts were banded by income bands? And if you were, can you share what the model was that came up with that distribution that you looked at? And if you weren't aware, why not? Big bills create winners and losers. We talked about this in Columbus. And this bill is creating winners and losers, and I don't see how anybody could vote for a bill if they don't know who are winners and who are losers.
So again, Flood went on to spin. He claimed that he wasn't aware of, this Wharton report. And then he tried to discredit the Congressional Budget Office report. He said, it didn't accurately reflect the financial impact from Trump's first tax scam, the one that they passed in 2017. He was like, those numbers never panned out and blah, blah, blah. It's like, okay, you're not addressing the question again. So complete and total bullshit. And we know what happened with the 2017 bill. I mean, we've seen it. We've seen it in every report since then. The rich got richer, and the working poor has not had any upward mobility. So I don't care whether it was on point, off a little bit, it didn't do anything for the lower half of the country, or the lower 80% of the country. This next woman asked Flood a question, and I'm going to play his answer for you because it is so vile. It is so heinous that you just have to hear him say it for yourself, given the nature of her question. So check this one out.
What is your response to the U.S. doctors who have reported to congressional staff that children are emaciated and being shot to kill in Gaza, unlike any war zone they have ever seen?
Honestly, I have not received that specific report about that kind of violence, but what I will tell you is I believe in Israel. I believe that on October 8th, 2023, these Hamas animals came over into the kibbutz, which I have since visited, and they did horrific things to the people of Israel. They slaughtered, murdered, raped, burned, pillaged, not just the kibbutzes, but they went in and they used hand grenades and they took out 20 people at a time. At the same time, shortly thereafter, Hezbollah militants did the same thing on the northern tip of Israel. I stand with Israel. I believe the people of Israel have a definite right to root out the evil, and we all know that Hamas has been living and breathing in the tunnels in the Gaza Strip, and they haven't done anything meaningful to grow the economy of the Gaza Strip, but use it for their own purposes to destroy Israel, and they've been doing it for the better part of 18 years. I believe that Israel is doing what it needs to do to protect its country and to maintain its sovereignty, and I stand with Israel in that.
So she asks about children being purposely targeted, purposely starved to death, and slaughtered in Gaza. And this piece of shit says, I stand with Israel, and they're doing what they need to do to root out evil. Children are evil. I mean, I could have sworn that the Republicans were the quote unquote Christians, right? Didn't they believe? Don't they always purport to believe and save the children? Isn't that what they're always going on about? Isn't that what they've always said when they're thumping their Bibles at us? Don't they call us on the left baby killers? So they're actually the baby killers now, right? I mean, he didn't even equivocate. He didn't even address the fact that murdering children is evil and should never happen. Didn't even pay lip service to that fact. How ironic that a Danish man called Democrats the party of Satan. You guys may have seen my video on that the other day, this guy who supports Trump and the Republicans, and Donald Trump has him locked up in a detention facility. And he retweeted someone's tweet that said Democrats are the party of Satan. Really? Yeah, I think we all know now very clearly which party is the party of Satan. Israel lost the moral high ground. When they became the aggressors, they started killing innocent civilians. They've lost me. They have lost me for good. So is the Republican Party. So is the church. Anybody who's condoning any of this shit. And take a listen to the answer to this next question.
How do you justify the reduction of programs for poor while giving enormous tax breaks to the wealthiest 10% in the U.S.?
Well, ultimately, like I've said tonight, it's a balance. It's a balance.
It's a balance, you guys. It's a balance of how we want to treat the poor versus the wealthy. Yeah, it's a lopsided balance where 70% of the benefit of this specific bill that he just signed goes to the people who need it the least. And the working poor once again get screwed. And I didn't include in this clip, but people started chanting, tax the rich. So after he blathered on for a while, people started chanting that in the audience. I'm telling you that this is going to come to a boiling point. You cannot keep stealing from people with nothing and giving it to the oligarchs in this country without consequences. This is going to boil over at some point. You know, they could easily reduce our deficit by taxing the wealthy. They could easily close up the tax loopholes that the wealthy use to exploit the system so that the richest people in this country pay less in taxes than a freaking teacher. That is just a fact. Corporations who are paying zero in federal tax dollars, while you and I pay large chunks of our income to the federal tax system. That is total and complete bullshit. So anyway, next up is a question that we would all like to hear an answer to. Check this one out.
The administration of Trump has done a series of very illegal things that the courts have deemed illegal, and yet they still keep doing them. I will give you some examples: the deportation of the immigrants, the man who was not supposed to be deported, the cutting of overhead rates for NIH and NSF, which was appropriated by Congress, by the way. At what point, even though you are a Republican and he is a Republican, are you willing to break with him? What does he have to do?
So that woman and her question received a lot of applause, a lot of cheering. And Flood gave her another BS answer about, co-equal branches of government, how he doesn't agree with the way Trump is doing everything that he's doing. And, I'm going to go back to Congress. I'm going to go back to DC, and I'm going to take issue with this law about, not having to be held accountable by the courts. Another non-answer, another bunch of BS. She asked, when are you going to take action? What does he have to do for you to hold him accountable? I would just love for one of these people to just grab the mic back and say, now answer my question. You didn't answer my question. I asked you a very pointed question and you danced around it and you did not answer. Now answer it. That's what we're here for. This next guy asked Flood probably one of the best questions of the night. Another one that we'd all like an answer to. So take a listen to this.
Yeah, my question is regarding your oath of office. So you have sworn to uphold and defend the Constitution from enemies both foreign and domestic. And you've up until now abdicated all of your rights as Congress to the executive branch. And if you don't act as a check and a balance on the executive branch when they are in violation not only of the Constitution but also of judicial orders, what exactly is the purpose of Congress? Why do you even exist?
Again, perfectly legitimate question, very precise, very direct. Flood ended up giving a non-answer. Something Trump has done a great job of addressing issues in America. something dark side. It's ridiculous. And he just keeps pushing this idea, meaning Flood, all of them, really, all the Republicans. But he keeps pushing this idea that, these tax cuts for the rich are, it's going to grow the economy. They are still pushing this nonsense line about trickle-down economics. Does anyone with a brain still believe that that is a thing? This is what they have been claiming to do, aiming for, making all of their policy decisions around for decades. And yet the wealth gap has grown. So tell me exactly how, since Ronald freaking Reagan, this trickle-down economics has not reached us yet. Is there not a good enough slope or grade in the country for it to trickle down? Like, are we working against gravity here? What is going on? that since the 80s, it has failed to trickle down. You know, all these companies do is buy back stocks, they increase executive pay. Anyone who still believes in trickle down economics, you must believe in the tooth fairy still. And I'd like to offer you my services. I will, for free, I will come, not a dentist, let me say that up front, but I will come, I will pull out all of your teeth for free, and then you can become wealthy. How about that? How about that? Check me outside. How about that? Anyway, all right, guys, I will let you know when I hear more. There was another town hall, another Republican that just got her ass handed to her on a silver platter. But are they going to do anything? Do they care? No, they don't, because they hold all the power and they know nobody's going to rise up. Nobody's going to do anything about it. All right. Thank you all so much for watching and listening. Please like, please share, and subscribe. Please donate if you can. Love you all. Take care. Talk with you soon.